Waiting can feel like walking through a desert with no map, no signposts, and no end in sight. It's the silent season that tests the strength of your faith more than anything else ever could. You pray with all your heart, expecting an answer. And when none comes, the silence feels like rejection. But what if that silence was never a denial? What if God was simply moving in ways that your eyes couldn't see? Too often we mistake God's silence for his absence. But the truth is, he's always been present. He's been closer in the silence than you could ever imagine. The silence wasn't a punishment. It was a preparation. It wasn't the end of your prayer. It was the beginning of God's response. There is something sacred about a season where nothing moves. It's in that stillness that your character is shaped, your faith is refined, and your roots grow deeper. You start to realize that maybe the waiting isn't about the blessing. It's about becoming the person who can carry the weight of it. When you've been in that place long enough, you begin to notice that silence forces you to listen differently. You stop listening for noise and start listening for presence. That's where you meet God, not through answers, but through trust. And even when your heart cried out in desperation, and it felt like the heavens were shut, he was still working. He wasn't ignoring. He wasn't indifferent. He was orchestrating things behind the scenes that would be bigger than you could comprehend. Every delay carried divine strategy. Every unanswered prayer carried a deeper yes awaiting for its time. Just because nothing seemed to change around you didn't mean God wasn't changing things within you. He was softening what had grown hardened, stretching what had grown stagnant, and building what had not yet taken form. The promise he made didn't disappear in the silence. It matured. It rooted itself in your heart until you could carry it with wisdom and not just desire. God knew the weight of what you were asking for, and he also knew the strength it would take to handle it. So rather than give you a fragile victory, he allowed time to craft an unshakable foundation. Sometimes God allows us to sit in silence, not because he's punishing us, but because he's protecting the promise from premature exposure. A blessing born too early can become a burden, and so he waits. Not because he's unsure, but because he's making sure everything lines up perfectly for a release that won't falter. If you've been waiting, if your soul has been stretched and your faith tested, know this: God did not forget you. You were never out of his reach, never out of his care. He's heard every whisper, seen every sleepless night, counted every tear, and written every plea into his divine timeline. This season is not random. It's a deliberate pause before the sudden shift. God has not been silent because he had nothing to say. He's been silent because what he is about to release is so complete, so profound that it required sacred stillness. The stillness was not a void. It was a vault holding the answer you've been waiting for. You may not have seen it coming, but it's closer than you know. You thought he said a no, but he was actually preparing you for a much deeper, much stronger yes, one that would arrive not when you demanded it, but when heaven declared it ready. And now that declaration is near. Hold on, because the silence is breaking. What you thought was a delay was divine design. What you thought was forgotten is about to be fulfilled. God is about to surprise you with a long-awaited yes. Sometimes the greatest moves of God happen in complete silence. While you were questioning, doubting, and wondering if your prayers were lost in the air, heaven was whispering a yes behind the scenes. But this yes wasn't like a light switch, instant and immediate. It was more like a seed planted in the unseen, growing quietly, maturing beneath the soil of your waiting season. You didn't see anything change. You couldn't hear a shift. But God was not still. He was arranging hearts, shifting timelines, preparing people, and placing favor in the right places. You were asking for something specific, but he was preparing something strategic. It wasn't just about answering your request. It was about aligning your future. There are things you prayed for that didn't require a yes in the moment. They required alignment. Had God answered too early, you might have stepped into a blessing that you couldn't maintain. Had he responded in your time, you may have received what you wanted, but missed what you needed. But now something has shifted. You can feel it even if you can't explain it. That inner stirring, that quiet expectancy is not a coincidence. It's the sound of a promise awakening. It's the vibration of heaven signaling that the delay has done its work. The yes has been formed in the secret place and is now pushing through into your reality. You are on the edge of receiving something that took time to create, time to develop, and time to perfect. Even when you were unaware, God was saying yes over you. Not audibly, not publicly, but in the quietness of your spirit, He was confirming your destiny. You just couldn't hear it yet. Your ears were still tuned to your surroundings and not yet to your faith. But faith doesn't need noise. Faith listens for movement in silence. Faith trusts that God does not speak careless. If He says yes, He does not tease. He does not delay for sport. His timing is surgical, exact, and sacred. So while you were stuck in a cycle of questioning, heaven was working with precision. Everything you thought was falling apart was actually falling into place. The no's you encountered weren't denials. They were divine reroutes. The closed doors were not roadblocks. They were redirections. You have to understand that a heavenly yes doesn't always begin with a yes in the natural. It may start with rejection, isolation, confusion, or stillness. But beneath that stillness, God's word was moving like a river underground. It didn't rise to the surface until now because it wasn't time. But now it is. You've passed the tests you didn't even know were tests. You've matured in ways that only waiting could produce. You've developed a prayer life, a backbone, a boldness, a deeper reverence for the process. All of that wasn't wasted. It was preparation. It was construction. God wasn't just building the blessing. He was building you to match it. This yes is not just a simple affirmation. It's a divine echo of everything you've carried in your heart for so long. It's the kind of yes that will break chains and close the chapter on years of disappointment. It's the kind of yes that will make sense of the long nights, the lonely prayers, and the unanswered questions. You're about to step into a moment where everything clicks, where you realize that God didn't forget you. He was working on something too sacred to rush. The relationships that left, the opportunities that vanished, the detours that confused you, all of them were part of the orchestration. Nothing was wasted. Not one moment, not one heartbreak, not one tear. Every piece of the puzzle is about to come together in a way that only God could design. This surprise is not coming to shock you. It's coming to fulfill you. It's going to meet you at deepest place of longing. It's going to settle the ache in your spirit, and it's not going to be fragile. This blessing is going to stand strong because it was built in the dark through prayer, through fasting, through faith that refused to quit. You didn't just wait for it, you became ready for it. And now the timing of God is aligning with your obedience. The yes is breaking through, and when it comes, it will not be subtle. It will be clear, it will be undeniable. It will carry the weight of heaven behind it. So if your spirit has felt unsettled lately, it's because the silence is lifting. The seed is about to sprout. The yes is about to be spoken. And when God says yes, no force on earth can say no. When God says yes, it shatters every limitation man tried to place over your life. This kind of divine approval doesn't need a cosigner. Doesn't wait for validation from people who doubted you. It doesn't ask permission from systems designed to hold you back. God's yes overrides rejection, cancels delay, and brings light to places you thought were permanently dark. What people tried to block, God is about to bless. Every door that was slammed in your face becomes irrelevant when God opens one that no man can shut. And this next door, it doesn't come with the old conditions, the same fear, or the previous struggle. It comes with authority. It comes with power. It comes with clarity. Because when God opens something, He opens it fully. You've been through seasons where people tried to contain you. They spoke against you, cast shadows on your name, underestimated your worth, and disqualified you based on what they could see. But what they couldn't see was what God was preparing inside of you. What they ignored, he anointed. What they dismissed, he developed. And now his yes is not just a breakthrough, it's vindication. It's proof that what he starts, he finishes. It's evidence that his word is not bound by earthly metrics. He saw your struggle, he heard the lies, he watched the betrayal. And instead of defending you with words, he's about to defend you with results. This yes will not only bless you, it will silence every critic. Not because you need revenge, but because the blessing itself will speak. You won't have to explain yourself anymore. You won't have to justify why you believed, why you stayed, why you prayed when nothing changed. The fruit will tell the story. The shift will answer the questions. God is about to release a yes that shuts the mouths of those who said it was over for you. Those who overlooked you are about to witness the overflow. Those who thought you were finished are about to see you flourish, because God's yes carries the final authority. It's not based on majority opinion. It's based on his divine intention. You must understand the weight of this moment. This is not an ordinary yes. This is the kind of yes that redeems the time. It restores what you lost. It makes up for the pain. It reclaims the years that felt wasted. God is not giving you a leftover blessing. He's not handing you what someone else dropped. He's delivering something tailor-made for you. This isn't a recycled opportunity. It's a revelation of what was always yours. And when it comes, it won't feel forced. It will fit. It will confirm everything your spirit. You won't have to beg. You won't have to chase. You'll walk into it because it was always appointed to you. And yes, there will be resistance. Not everyone will celebrate. Some will question how you got here. Others will try to rewrite your story to make it seem like luck or coincidence or manipulation. But they can't touch what God ordained. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them analyze. Because while they're trying to figure it out, God will keep elevating you. This yes is not about proving people wrong. It's about proving God right. It's about fulfilling every word he whispered to you in the dark. And the beauty is, he didn't do it to impress others. He did it because he delights in blessing you. Not for show, but for his glory. The truth is, this yes will do more than open doors. It will break walls. Walls of insecurity, walls of fear, walls of limitation. You won't just walk through. You'll walk in authority. The very places that tried to suffocate your purpose will now serve as platforms for your promise. The environments that tried to confine you will now have to expand to accommodate the anointing on your life. God is not just saying yes to a request. He's saying yes to your identity, your calling, your next level. You were born for this moment. Every ounce of pain, every disappointment, every battle, it all led to this. And now heaven is confirming it with a yes that cannot be reversed. So brace yourself, not for another delay, but for divine acceleration. What you thought would take years is going to happen suddenly. What you thought you missed out on is coming back around better than before. This is your time. This is your turn. This is your testimony in motion. You didn't need to chase after it. You didn't have to fight dirty to earn it. You just had to endure. And now God is saying, enough waiting, enough delay. Here it comes. His yes will shift everything. His yes will redeem everything. And his yes will lift you in ways no one saw coming. This is more than a surprise. It's a divine statement. Heaven has spoken, and the answer is yes. The blessing that's about to reach you isn't just something you've been waiting for. It's something your soul has been quietly growing into. And while it's exciting to anticipate God's yes, there's something deeper that must take place first. Before the doors fly open and the floodgates pour out, your heart must be prepared to carry what's coming. A lot of people ask for breakthrough, but very few ask to be made ready for it. And God doesn't pour out divine promises into hearts filled with fear, bitterness, or doubt. He waits for alignment. He waits until your faith matches the weight of your future. Because if you step into a blessing you're not spiritually anchored for, the very thing you prayed for can overwhelm. God's yes is sacred. It's not just a gift, it's a responsibility. And He will not hand it to someone still chained to old disappointments, grudges, or unresolved pain. That's why the final stretch of the waiting season often feels the hardest. It's not because the answer isn't ready, it's because God is asking of what hurt you before. That means letting go of the memories of rejection. That means laying down the comparison, the questions, the why not me, and a what if I'm not enough. That means trusting that what's ahead is worth more than anything that tried to break you in the past. It's time to stop rehearsing what went wrong and start preparing for what's about to go right. Preparation isn't just about action. It's about posture, how you stand in the spirit battle. So you're still begging? Are you still doubting? Are you still walking with your head down because of what didn't happen before? Or are you standing in expectation, believing that God is exactly who He says He is? This isn't about pretending to be strong. It's about choosing to trust even when everything in you is tired. It's about deciding that the silence didn't steal your belief. The delays didn't weaken your worship. The waiting didn't rob your praise. You're still standing. You're still believing. And that posture of faith is what heaven responds to. So lift your head. This is not the time to shrink. This is the time to stretch your spirit. Speak life over what you can't see yet. Thank God in advance. Make room in your heart. Clear out the clutter. Shut the door on doubt, because this blessing won't fight for your attention. It's coming where it's welcome. It's arriving in the space you've prepared. You may not know the hour or the moment, but God is drawn to readiness. And when you posture your spirit in faith, you're not just waiting. You're hosting the promise before it arrives. That kind of faith shakes things in the unseen. It tells God, I trust you enough to get ready before I even see it. This next season won't look like the last one. The heaviness you carried, the confusion you endured, the questions that went unanswered, they're all about to be replaced with clarity, peace, and fulfillment. But you can't drag yesterday into tomorrow. You can't carry old wounds into new breakthroughs. And most importantly, you can't doubt God's hand and expect to walk confidently in His promise. You must believe again. You must forgive again. You must dream again. Not because it's easy, but because your faith is the gate through which the yes arrives. When your heart is aligned, your spirit becomes a magnet for the very thing you've been praying for. God doesn't just surprise you with blessings to excite you. He does it to elevate, to shift your life into divine order, to place you where your voice matters, where your purpose unfolds, where your calling thrives. So don't be passive. Don't wait with hesitation. Wait with boldness. Wait with worship. Wait like someone who knows the answer is on the way, because it is. And when it comes, it won't apologize for being late. It'll be right on time. It'll make sense of every delay. It'll comfort every ache. It'll fill every void. But you must be ready. Your spirit must match the magnitude of what God is about to do. This is the moment where faith becomes action. This is where you say, God, I'm ready. Not just with words, but with surrender, with trust, with a heart that's healed and hands that are open. This is your turning point, not because of how long you've waited, but because of how deeply you now believe heaven is moving. And when it arrives, it won't just bless you. It will transform you. What you've been praying for is about to meet the version of you that was shaped in the fire, anchored in truth, and built in the silence. That's who this blessing is for, and you are that person now.